is Tuesday, 7th May, 2019 at 7 p.m. And I'd like to call the Village of North Hudson regular Board of Trustees meeting to order. And just a short invocation. Your Lords, we start a new term of office with a new board. We ask for your guidance in the decisions we make, that we may make decisions that are good for our residents and taxpayers, and that you can guide us as we make these decisions down the road. We thank you. Amen. Roll call, please.
Trustees Head.
Here.
Leaf. Here. Matz.
Here.
Nelson.
Here.
Pike.
Here.
President Wecken.
Here.
Trustee Zeiss.
Here.
We're getting feedback. Who's getting?
She's back there.
I couldn't hear it. Okay. Excuse me. Item 2, review and approve minutes from special board meeting of March 18th, regular board meeting of March 26th, and reorg meeting of April 16th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Brian, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Kathy, is there any additions, corrections, or amendments to any of the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, item 3 is comments from the floor, which is an opportunity for residents to make the board aware of topics, issues, opportunities, either on or not on today's agenda, and I don't see anyone in the audience that will have anything like that because they're on the agenda. So we'll move on to item 4, is the North Hudson Elementary Fun Run, Wednesday, 29 May 2019, authorization to temporarily close roads around the school, approval requested. Is there a motion?
I move to authorize traffic restriction on Webster Street North from Lemon Street North to Helen Street North, and Helen Street North from Webster Street North to Monroe Street North, and Monroe Street North from Helen Street North to Lemon Street North for the North Hudson Elementary School Fun Run on Wednesday, May 29th, 2019, from 2:45 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. with an alternate rain date of Wednesday, June 5th, 2019, from 2:45 to 3:30 p.m.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. Any comments or questions? I don't know how many years we've been doing this, but never had an issue, I don't.
7, I think.
Yeah, and we haven't had any issues and stuff, and it all goes pretty well. It's a fun end of the year thing for the kids. So, all in favor of the fun run in closing the road, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right. Item 5 is new business from the board or staff, and first item is president's comments, and there's a few things I'd like to mention this month. May is Older American Month. It's and the theme of this year for the older Americans is connect, create, and contribute. It's Older American Month is an annual event back to 1963 when President John Kennedy designated May as Senior Citizens Month. May is also the Aging and Disability Resource Center Month, and Wisconsin was the first state to develop Aging and Disability Resource Centers starting in 1998 and provided the model for a nationwide initiative that began in 2003. The ADRC of St. Croix County opened its door in August of 2008, and this August will be their 11th anniversary. And as part of the senior board and seeing what the Aging Disability Resource Center does for the community and the county, it's a very, very great organization. A lot of resources as we age. I hope everybody taking advantage. We have, I think, on our website that we can link to that so that we can take care of our older citizens. Let's see. Then we got this week or next week. There's an invite from Chief Jeff Willems from Hudson Police Department. He says, we would like to cordially invite you and your family to the St. Croix County Law Enforcement Officer Memorial Ceremony, which is on Wednesday, May 15th, 2019 at 6 p.m. The ceremony will be held at the Hudson High School, located at 1501 Vine Street in Hudson. Every year, too many officers make the ultimate sacrifice while doing their jobs. In 2018, 144 officers were killed in the line of duty. This ceremony will pay tribute to these officers as well as recognize the contributions of all the officers who work in St. Croix County. Please join us on May 15th, National Law Enforcement Officers Week at 6 p.m. to honor all these brave men and women. Refreshments will be served following the ceremony. I've been attending this every year since I've been invited to it, and it is a very, very moving and very humbling experience what our officers and first responders and stuff have to go through. And I hope you will join us at the event. They've done an excellent job every year, and it's a very sad day, but it's nice to be able to acknowledge the officers that are still with us and working in that capacity. Next item, I'd like to welcome or say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, which is coming up this week. You are very important to us. There's also on May 18th is Armed Forces Recognition Day. So if you so choose to recognize our armed forces, you see anybody, say hi and thank you. Then of course we have Memorial Day is the end of the month, and where we honor our fallen soldiers, and then there's always a very good program Hudson puts on up at the cemetery on Memorial Day. Look at the paper; they'll have information for you. Melissa is not here tonight. She's attending a conference, and she did not have any administrator or clerk's comments for us to share. So we'll move on to item 6, which is Plan Commission recommendations. Chair update. Mike couldn't be with us tonight, but item B is the only actionable item they had, and that's an application from Tom and Therese Mitchell to create a 2-lot minor subdivision at 1292 Cratley Lane. Discussion and approval requested.
Well, I guess if you want me to comment, I was there.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
We had a good presentation from the applicant. There was a couple questions from adjoining property owners as to whether or not this lot could be combined with one of the lots behind. I think there was a question about traffic flow, but I think all the answers or the questions were answered satisfactorily to everyone, and the Plan Commission recommended approval.
Thank you, Paul. Sir,
Stan, can I move the approval of application from Thomas and Therese?
excuse me.
I'm the surveyor. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, he's making motions, so I mean, you can state,
But
if
I'm
we
assuming
need
it
you,
will be
we'll,
approved, and I just wanted to get your signature.
excuse me?
I'm assuming it will be approved, and then I just wanted to get your.
Well, I wouldn't assume anything, before it's
Vote
done.
on it.
That right there, I mean, I might not sign that now until next week. Never assume when you come before a board like this, I mean. Okay, Brian, sorry for the interruption.
Stan, can I move to approve the application from Thomas and Therese Mitchell to create a 2-lot minor subdivision at 1292 Cratley Lane North
Thank you.
with these conditions? Number 1, parkland dedication fees of $1,000 shall be paid prior to the village signing of the CSM. Other applicable fees will be due at the time of building permit application. Item 2, individual lot grading and drainage plans shall be provided at the time of building permit application to confirm that adjacent property owners are not impacted by storm water runoff. Item 3, individual lot erosion control plan shall be provided at time of building permit application to prevent sediment transfer onto adjacent property and village streets during building construction. Item 4, Lot 3 will be required to hook up to municipal sanitary sewer and water main at time of building construction. Item 5, remove signature block of village treasurer from the second page of the CSM. And item 6, provide a copy of the final recorded CSM to the village.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion?
Well,
Hearing-
going back to the meeting again, no adjacent, no other comments from other residents around the area, or?
No, it went pretty smooth. The
Okay.
questions were answered. Like I said, the one individual wanted to know about combining lots, and maybe a future placement of the house, but I think there was some discussion of the topography in that area, really would prevent what he was concerned about.
Okay.
And then I believe there was another lady that just talked about access and traffic concerns of future development in the area.
Good. I know you said that, so I just, thank you.
Engineer, are you familiar with this?
Yeah.
Everything's good?
Yep, everything's good.
Patrick, any issues? Stormwater? No issues with stormwater for us? Okay.
Not up there.
Okay.
Sir?
I would like to point out one thing, it would be on our page 3. The original is actually 3 sheets, but the same paper. I photocopied.
You should go up to the
You should go to the
microphone so
mic.
people that are watching home could hear this.
I copied pages 1 and 2 on the same legal size paper. The municipal sewer and water are installed in the right-of-way of Cratley Lane. When Cratley was originally created, before it was platted as a certified survey map for the Mitchell parcel, it was shown as an easement. It still exists as a public easement. So what the Mitchells are doing, if you read the certificate, they are actually dedicating that 33-foot strip in front of their house to which they have fee title. They are dedicating that to the village. So at this point, at least your force main will be on real estate that you own. The water main is still in the highway easement, but you will own the real estate where the sewer line is.
Good, thank you. Any other
And
questions?
do you want a check tonight?
What's that?
Do you want the $1,000 check tonight, or can I do it tomorrow?
I think tomorrow
Yeah, do it tomorrow.
tomorrow would be enough,
Yeah.
I think would be fine.
If you would like me on bended knee, I will beg your signature, and if you will sign it, I brought the original.
No, after we have the vote, we'll have the vote here now, unless there's any other questions. All in favor of the motion to allow the splitting of the subdivision, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And you're still gonna be disappointed, because the clerk's gonna sign it too, and she's gone till Friday.
If we can do 50%, it's better than none.
Yeah, you bring that by right now, I'll take care of my half of it right now.
And she won't sign it without that check.
No,
There you go, that's the one.
because that's her job.
No, I'm pretty good at that. Okay, today is 7 May 19. So there's your black pen and that, and you're good to go, and come back and talk to Melissa on Friday. Alrighty then. Personnel and Finance Committee recommendations, claims and approval requested.
Stan, my move to recommend the board approve the May 2019 non-recurring claims of $31,737.52.
Thank you, Kirk. Is there a second?
I'll second
Second.
that. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Jim? Kathy? You can write down whoever you want.
Flip a
Whoever you
coin.
heard first. Okay, any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll start with Kathy.
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. Okay, item 8, Public Works Committee recommendations. Chair update, Brian?
Stan, we did meet, and we do have one thing to bring forward. Some of the discussion that we're not quite ready to bring forward yet is East Bank sanitary sewer that busted and has since been brought back to life. But in our discussion, in our committee meeting, we are very concerned, and we don't want to wait, because it takes, what's the length of time to order those?
8 months or something.
10 to 12 weeks.
Right.
And we'd be concerned the thing would break again, getting closer to winter. And so in our committee discussions, we're hoping to bring that to you with numbers by next meeting? Yep, by next meeting. We also discussed the issue down on Galahad, with the water running over Galahad. And we don't have a recommendation yet exactly what we want to do. But again, by next meeting, we're working out some details yet, and there were some people that needed to be talked to in the storage facility, and actually you and I went down and visited the site to see what was causing the problem.
Right.
There's a pond, there's supposed to be a pond, which isn't really a pond, and then there's a pipe running through. And so there are some things that we need to work out logistically and find out who's paying for what, and et cetera. But those are ongoing discussions. And then the soil borings, we brought that, and we have something to bring forward on that. Oh, where did that go? Here it is. We'd like to make a motion to spend $5,100 to do soil borings for the Highway 35 project. That's 8 borings on the North Hudson side up and down 6th Street. And they vary in length and or depth, basically, so. And they will come back and fill those in and put a piece of tar on top. That should last at least till 2021, we've agreed. When they do the whole road over again. So, that's my.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Oh, I kinda went
The
too long
first
there.
part, not
The
the-
first part,
The first part I'll second.
sorry. I was waxing on.
All right.
Discussion? Do you have anything to say about it?
No,
Motion in a second. Is there any other discussion?
the $5,100, is this part of the overall project, Kevin? I forget, yeah. So, okay.
Okay, so, no further discussion, and it's a spending, so let's start with Tim.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Okay, next is, item C, which is alternatives to full closure of the Malibu Bridge for Highway 35 project, which is coming in 2021, because I've had a lot of people ask, when is this gonna happen? Thank you, and, so, Kevin, I gotta believe that you're gonna be my best source for these, which I believe is gonna be a tricky issue.
So, as you're aware, the DOT had another public informational meeting at the beginning of April, and that was held down at the City of Hudson's City Hall. And originally, the DOT was looking at doing a full road closure in between the village and the city throughout the whole construction season of when this project will go on, which is basically going to be from early spring till basically right up to freeze up. So, October, November. Obviously, there was a lot of concerns that were raised at that meeting with businesses and how that's going to affect their business during the construction season. Some of the residents, how they're going to get access to their homes and things. So they basically went back and discussed it at the DOT level. There was another meeting, and the chief was there, Patrick and myself, along with people from the city of Hudson. We had a meeting over in Eau Claire at the office, DOT's office. And that was held on the same night as our Public Works Committee meeting. And some of the alternatives that was brought or discussed, and there was, the memorandum that was passed out at that meeting. I think all the village board members have a copy of that. So basically, there was 2 alternatives that they were looking at proposing. One of them, option 1, was bi-directional traffic, so you still have two-way traffic, but you would have to do it in phases, construction-wise. And the first phase that they're looking at is trying to move the traffic all the way up, right up close to the retaining wall. So you'd have to take the sidewalk out. Some of the concern with that is you have footings underneath those walls. They're very old. What would that, when you start bringing traffic over the top of it, the integrity of the walls, how would that have an effect on it? And then you're gonna, gravel over the top. You'd have some gravel and some asphalt, the long-term maintaining of that during the construction. You'd have to do it in sections. You do the western side. do a lot of the underground work, storm sewer, building the street, and then eventually transfer the track from the east side over to the western, but still have two-way traffic through that area. So that's option number one that was discussed. And then, just so you're aware, they are looking at doing concrete pavement instead of asphalt. That's was what we had found out at that meeting. Originally, we were hearing that they were gonna do asphalt. But when they go through their analysis, they look at which one is the most cost-effective, and apparently the concrete pavement is, what the chosen alternative at this
What
point.
time-wise, that'd be longer then?
Concrete pavement does take longer just because of the curing and stuff.
Yeah.
And typically when they pour that, they'll pour 2 lanes. Usually, like 12-foot lanes on each side. And then they'll add on, if there's an extension, the widening of the road, and then the curb is attached to that. So yes, definitely a lot more time, over the asphalt. We did ask if the village would have any say into that. Didn't sound real positive. Potentially you could look at that, but if there's additional costs, that would be all at the village's share. But it was pretty well known that,
Did you say if the asphalt goes and there's additional costs, we pay it? And we have no say?
The other way around. So
Yes.
If you decided to go against the concrete, if you decided to change that, that's where the additional cost would.
because it's more, from where their analysis is coming in, it's actually more money to put the asphalt down than the concrete. Just, that's all relative with fuel prices and,
Right.
that was what was disclosed at the meeting,
What
so,
lasts longer?
yep, longevity and all that,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Harder to repair?
A little bit, it's a little more cumbersome to work with, the asphalt, you're looking at probably 5-6 inches, concrete 7-8. You gotta have some bigger saws to be able to cut through that stuff. Crack filling and joint repair, you have to look into those things, but as of now, they're looking at doing concrete. So,
That's a long stretch of
Does the
concrete.
county have any say?
it's gonna be all driven by what the DOT, cause they're funding the majority of the project. It's a state highway, so they ultimately kinda have the say into what's
Except we
gonna.
maintain it.
No,
No,
We maintain what parts of it?
on Sixth Street.
Manholes? So they're making it harder for us to maintain those pieces that we're responsible to maintain?
It's gonna be harder to work with concrete or
So
asphalt, but,
just an FYI, that means he's gonna need these saws 5 years down the road.
Well, then budget it.
Okay,
yeah. Or you have to hire it out or,
yeah,
but.
okay.
So that, that was alternative number one. Number two then is looking more of, just a single lane. So they would actually look at putting temporary traffic signals in. Some of the spots that they talked, where that would occur is on Division Street down in the city of Hudson, and then North Hudson either on South Street or Wisconsin Street, one of those two.
South doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think Wisconsin Street definitely makes yeah,
Can we push that?
we can definitely, yes, express that.
Okay.
You'd rather go to 1 lane than 2?
Well, first of all, what he said is if they're doing asphalt, if you read the bottom of this thing, they're gonna shut it down anyway
Yeah,
to 1 lane,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yep,
because they're not gonna deal with the retaining walls.
right. It's just too much of a risk to put traffic over
So
that close
option-
to it.
Basically, option 1 is out, as best you understand.
Yeah, that was basically the consensus after that meeting, that number two probably made the most sense between the two of them.
And that's in their opinion, you mean? Because I'm sure business owners wouldn't necessarily agree.
Probably.
But that would take involvement from government, right? I mean, that would be where Shannon comes in.
What, I don't, what are you asking?
They're saying they're basically saying no to bidirectional traffic by saying we're going with concrete, and because we're going with concrete, we can't do bidirectional traffic. Therefore, they're impacting the amount of traffic that can come to North Hudson during that entire summer. And by virtue of that, they're affecting our businesses up here.
But it's not gonna be closed down for the year. or for
Yeah,
the
it's,
season.
But they
it's
did,
definitely a better scenario.
they
with-
did add a 3 to 4 week
For
shutdown.
concrete, 3 to 4 weeks.
Depending, I mean, they do have some verbiage in here unless, you know, a single lane with temporary traffic signals.
Temporary, yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, that's definitely something that we want to explore and want to have in place, instead of having a total closure for 3 to 4 weeks.
Kevin, when they were looking at south instead of Wisconsin, were they literally thinking people would right turn, left turn,
Yep,
and then go across to, down to Fourth?
yep.
Yeah, that little group of people aren't gonna like that
No,
down
and
there.
the radiuses are pretty tight in there.
Yeah,
So Wisconsin Street definitely makes the
Okay.
most sense.
and they have north on here. Why north? That's the one right on the other side of the bridge, right?
Yep, that's,
But that goes to nowhere, to a park.
yep, so basically for those people to get out,
The residents up
Oh, for
Yeah.
that group, okay.
right, because there is only one way and one way out.
And Division Street's the one you'd have to take a left on, because,
Yep, that's south of there.
and go up to Third and then run down to.
Yep.
So if we're running down, well, I suppose we could just go Third and up to River and then down the river. Okay. Want to jog all over the place.
So it's definitely a lot better than what they're originally talking for a total
Yeah.
closure throughout the whole construction season, but,
Now, they're still going to completely close Wisconsin up to
North.
summers,
Summers.
right?
Wisconsin to Summers. They're
Yep.
gonna, that, and so residents in that section and businesses in that section, what are they doing?
That's gonna be local traffic only.
They will allow local traffic
Yep.
through there.
There's just gonna be certain time periods, obviously, when they're doing sewer and water, when they have the hole open, that you're not gonna be able to get through that area. But, you know, the contractor will notify those people either the morning of or the night before to
Okay.
actually move their vehicles on a side street.
Okay,
But, you know, at the end of the night, you know, those trenches will be filled up and they'll be allowed to come in and out of
Did-
their residence.
did we get a definition of local traffic from these guys?
So local traffic technically is within the work zone area. Those folks are
Okay.
allowed to come and go. Um,
What if you're a pizza delivery driver that works in that area?
Yeah, Chief, how would you deal with people trying to conduct business?
I'll let you step up.
You knew it was coming, so.
Yep.
I don't have a great answer for you at this point. I know that when we were at the meeting, one of the big considerations that the DOT was pushing forward was that because they're allowing this to be open, they are going to sign it for local traffic only, so no through traffic. So I guess that point, in thinking about it, means if you live in St. Joe Township on Starwood, you're not local traffic. You are in the township, and so therefore you need to find an alternate way to get home. If you live in the village of North Hudson and you need to cross that bridge to get into North Hudson, you're local traffic, and so that was kind of the perspective that I was hearing from them, you know, during that meeting. Now, does that mean if you're going to a business in North Hudson that you would be considered local traffic? I don't have an answer for you right now. I do know that they said if we have 10,000, the volume currently, and this is just an estimate, but let's say that today the volume is 10,000 vehicles across that bridge, and during construction, they're seeing 10,000 vehicles going across the bridge. They will station Wisconsin State Troopers in the area to limit the traffic to local traffic only. They want to reduce the flow so that their construction can go on safely and so it can get done in a time and manner, yada, yada. With the idea that they do have a detour route put in place, and I understand that the detour isn't what people will use for that are locals, but that is put in place, and it's gonna be an inconvenience for one summer, and it's gonna be tough, you know, for some people. But for the local traffic only, and that's why I think when we were looking at the two options and having the conversation about having it signaled was, you know, if someone sits, and I think they estimated 3 minutes, that the signal would let people go one way for 3 minutes or roughly 3 minutes, stop, it would have to empty, and then the other way would get to go for 3 minutes, it would stop, that would have to empty before, that people will find alternate. It's going to be an inconvenience, and they're not going to want to utilize the bridge area for the time that it's down to one lane, through there. But it will still allow some flow back and forth, was what I heard during the meeting. So to answer your question, I don't have a definition. I don't know that there's a statutory definition other than that if they sign it and it's a construction zone, that it is limited to local traffic only, and we'll have to get a better feel for what that means. So I think to Kirk's question, whether or not it's a pizza delivery person coming from North Hudson, going into Hudson to make a delivery and then going back to the business, I think that probably would fit under local traffic because it's related to the business. But I don't know as far as if there's a person from Woodbury that's coming to utilize our businesses, if they're gonna be allowed through, or if they're just gonna have to find an alternate route to get to that same business. If they're not shutting down the business, but it just might mean that it's gonna take a little longer to get to whatever that might be.
Yeah, because vendors will want to know too.
Right.
Will they
Yeah.
be doing signage to the business? Like, let's just take the Seasons. Up at Summers, will it say to these businesses? If you were trying to get to these businesses, go down Summers to Fourth?
A lot of times I see businesses actually put up their own signs.
And that would be allowed?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I've seen that done in other.
Well, I think if there is an ordinance that relates to the signage, this board could probably make an exception. They literally could come forward and make a motion or something that says during the months of construction, we'll allow certain types of signage to make sure that people can get there. The other thing that we're gonna have to look at that we talked about is when Sixth Street is closed, let's say anywhere around Monroe Street from Sixth to Fifth, there's no parking on either side. We may have to alter those rules for a period of time, and that's really because of the truck traffic in the shop yards. But we may have to alter that so that we can't have residents that live on Sixth Street will have to park on a side road. We don't want to have to make them go all the way down to St. Croix or all the way up to Michelson, because those are kind of unique blocks. So there's gonna be a lot of exceptions, and when we think about this local versus through traffic, it's gonna be an educational piece. We're just gonna have to get out early and start talking with people about what does that mean, what's it look like. I don't have the staff, to be quite honest with you, to sit out there 24 hours a day and stand and check their IDs to see if they're local or not. But we also want to make sure that the construction project goes by safely and we don't have, the traffic doesn't impede the process, because that just means it's going to take longer. And we don't want to do that to the businesses or to the residents.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, do they still plan on shutting the bridge down when they do that sealant over it?
They're gonna do it at one lane at a time,
Okay.
so there will
And
be
I-
one lane of traffic open.
And I think the business, or the bridge probably isn't the issue, it's gonna be the utilities.
Yeah.
Because there was a conversation that they will have to close the road completely for a period of time, and I think it sounded like basically there were kind of three different sections that they had looked at. It was Division Street, because they will have to they will have to block the whole road to dig down to get the new utilities in. Then they figured they could do North and South, North Street in the city and South Street in the village, I believe at the same time. Or maybe it was, no, North was alone, and then South and Wisconsin could be done at the same time. But each of those are 3 to 4 days, with the exception of weekends. They'll fill them back up and traffic will be able to flow on weekends over the gravel. But potentially could be a 2-week or a little bit longer full closure, that there will be no traffic going from the village into the city. And then, of course, my concern was fire, EMS, and backup for police. But we're just gonna have to, for that shorter amount of time, not a month, not 6 weeks, but for that shorter amount of time, we're gonna have to just make some contingencies, and we'll work on that once we get some better feel for what it's gonna look like.
I have a question. Who's in charge of communicating to residents once decisions are set in place? Is it DOT or is it the village?
Yeah, they're actually gonna have one more public informational meeting. That'll be kind of the final details of everything. So the DOT is gonna be spearheading that part of it,
Okay.
getting information out.
Out to the people that live here and are affected
Yep.
most, okay.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thanks. So, that's all on that one.
What's that?
That's all on that one for now.
Well, other than a vote,
Uh,
I mean, we got option.
we don't know for sure if they're doing the cement, so we don't have option 1, option 2, we have option 2, right?
I don't think that's part of the consideration. It was more of when is it closed and what's gonna be closed, not the actual, I mean, unless Kevin's got something different. That was not my understanding. It was whether or not we wanted to have one lane for, you know, the project or the dual lane, that the option 1 or option 2.
But they say if they're doing cement, we can't have the dual. That's what that document
Tom, it
says.
says that.
Yeah, I think the preference was to have the temporary traffic signals,
The single lane.
single.
So since they're saying, it sounds like they're going cement, and we don't have any, if they are, that means we don't have an
no say.
option.
Right. So,
They say it comes down to number 2. As the chosen one.
All I'm asking is that they go all the way to Wisconsin instead of south. They don't use south.
Right. It's all definitely.
And that's up to, I don't know, all you can do is tell them that's our preference, and I guess they'll hear it again at the next meeting, and if any business owners want to get up and,
Can I comment on that?
yes, sir, sure.
I think based on the fact that there will be some semis and those types of things, I think the preference and my recommendation to the DOT would also be to utilize all the way up to Wisconsin, so that, as you mentioned, those are close angles, and I don't know that semis even, and I don't know if they're gonna allow, or what traffic they'll allow, whether they will allow or commercial motor vehicles into the construction zone, but Fourth Street is designed to be an alternate to Highway 35, which is why we use it for all of our detours. And so I think to use Wisconsin to Fourth would be our best option. So I would encourage, you know, Kevin and the DOT to do that same thing. And I would support option 2, just based on the fact that it leaves open a lane of traffic that we can get emergency vehicles through. And even if there is a car on there, I don't remember what the width was, but there would still be enough room for a squad car and a car to be on the same lane and be able to get past if there was some sort of emergency that was going on. So that would be my recommendation.
thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, we need a motion to go for option 1 or option 2.
I don't believe, did we have I don't think we made a motion, first of all. And secondly, they didn't leave us with an
No.
option 1. In this document, they left us with option 2, so what, right?
There's
Do
nothing
we have
to
anything to
vote
vote
on. There isn't anything to vote on.
Then what do we do
We'll have
for,
to move that as far as.
for consensus, then, all in favor of option 2?
I think that's what they're looking for, is just a consensus that you're in agreement to.
What if we're not?
We don't have a choice, he said.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, they have kind of a final say on everything.
Well, the alternate is they shut it down and we don't have an option.
Well, that's
Right.
true.
Back and
Right.
forth.
That
So
was
this is the
first
better
one
of
they
the two
threw out
evils.
there.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Okay,
It doesn't have to be you, it could be
Yeah.
anybody on the board.
Or somebody?
Go ahead, you're volunteering.
I didn't volunteer.
well, if it's gonna be that hard to do, I mean, I would make a motion that, since we have no other choice than option 2, that we would move to accept the single lane traffic with signals on Division and Wisconsin Street, and single lane traffic with the 3 to 4 minute cycle time is our only option. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Further discussion? Guess we're tired of this. Hearing none. All in favor of going with option 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. So it's 4-2, I believe, is the count.
5-2.
What?
5-2.
5-2.
5-2, okay, 5-2, right. I forgot to count myself. Okay, so next item on the agenda, public safety.
Shan, we did not meet for the month of April.
Thank you. Next is public welfare, Kirk.
Well, we did not meet.
Alrighty, and number 11 is park board committee.
We did meet. We're going over plans for moving in the park, and then we're seeding a lot of places to make our grass grow. And our theme this year is kind of to clean up all the parks.
Thank you. And let's see, item 12 is the board may convene into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 1, parent lowercase e, to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public businesses whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session with respect to water and sewer ad hoc committee updates and possibly combining all water and sewer systems components with the city of Hudson. And I need a motion to go into closed session.
Stan, I motion to go into closed session.
Thank you, Kirk. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kathy. We are now in closed session. Thank
have
you,
to vote.
Chief. Kevin? That document or whatever, so, okay, now we're back in, open session. Are we on in the back room?
Yes.
Okay, and so, we had one, actionable item and we, voted to approve, or to pursue hiring an attorney to, work with, the sewer and water ad hoc to understand, if we're going to combine with, Hudson, as far as they're turning it over to Hudson for sewer and water. And we recommended hiring Paul Kent from the Stafford Law Group. And that is it for this meeting, I believe. Anything else from anyone? We would be
Dan, can I
adjourned at
motion to adjourn?
8:08. Yeah.